Part 36. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ryu Xiahua. Chapter 351. Your sister-in-law will be back soon. She will clean the house and leave a good impression on others. Speaking of this, Xiaqin couldn't help but smile on her face, and subconsciously touched the gold bracelet on her hand, her heart filled with pride and expectation. Her son has really become successful. These past few months have made her feel like she was dreaming. At first, he kept silent and was admitted to a prestigious university in Shanghai, becoming the envy of the entire village. Then he wrote novels, earned millions, and bought a big house in Magic City. Even Li Zixia's household registration was moved to Magic City, where he went to university. Now I have found a girlfriend who is more beautiful than a movie star. She is a student at a prestigious university, a city dweller, and she respects me very much. She really felt that she was satisfied with her life. When your brother and your sister-in-law graduate from college, get married, and have a fat boy, your mother and I will die with no regrets in this life. Xiaqin's eyes were filled with happy smiles, and even the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes had disappeared. When Li Zixia heard Xiaqin's words, her face looked a little strange, and she eagerly wanted to tell her mother the inside story she knew. But when she thought about Li Yuan reminding her not to talk too much about his relationship with her parents some time ago, she could only hold back the turmoil in her heart. After all, she could tell who the big and small kings were. In this family, the real head of the family and the one in charge of the financial power is still his philandering scumbag brother. Although he couldn't reveal inside information, Li Zixia was very curious about which girlfriend his scumbag brother would bring back tonight. Is she the simple, shy, and very gentle sister-in-law's Haijin? Or is it the sister-in-law Wei 11, the dream girl that her brother has been chasing for 3 years? Or is it Sister Tingyu, who is very beautiful and looks like a big star? Mom, it's almost 9 o'clock, why isn't my brother back yet? Xiaqin replied absently, I should still be eating. Your brother said there is a basketball game tonight and he will have dinner with his classmates. He should be back in a while. Oh, Li Zixia's eyes lit up and she asked tentatively, Mom, you said you met your brother's girlfriend at noon. Did my brother tell her what her name was? Xiaqin glanced at her baby daughter in confusion. Have you never seen your sister-in-law? Li Zixia secretly thought, of course she has seen it, there are more than one. Before Li Zixia could speak, Xiaqin introduced with a smile. Your brother's girlfriend is called Zhong Tingyu. She is very handsome, like a female star, and is very tall. The key is that she is from the same school as you, both famous college students. Today was the first time we met. She also gave me a gold bracelet. She bought it for me with the New Year's money she saved. Your dad and I have been married for decades, and your dad didn't even bother to buy me a gold bracelet. This girlfriend your brother found is really good. Listening to Xiaqin's excited introduction, Li Zixia felt unhappy for some reason. In her heart, she is closest to Xia's Haijin, the very, very gentle person with whom she spends the longest time, who helps her with her homework and cooks spicy and delicious Sichuan dishes. My love-minded brother, sister's Haijin is so nice, why don't you take her home to meet your mother? Li Zixia murmured in her heart, feeling a little aggrieved for Xia's Haijin. However, she is just a sister and has no influence on Li Yuan's decision. At this moment, suddenly, Li Zixia's cell phone text message ringtone suddenly rang. Li Zixia picked up her phone and opened it. Her face suddenly changed, turning from worry to joy, and her expression was still a little tangled. This news was sent by the scumbag brother. Zixia, your sister-in-law's Haijin and I have just finished eating. When we get home soon, you and your mother should share the news in advance. Ahem, briefly introduce your sisters-in-law and talk about the situation. By the way, 10 million you have to hold mom steady, you know sister-in-law Jin is a little nervous. Seeing the message sent by Li Yuan, Lizixia pouted with a very wonderful expression. He couldn't help but smile to himself. This scumbag brother of mine is now afraid. Is he afraid that his mother will be angry when she knows the truth? Do you know how to find your good sister to cover her? However, the scumbag brother still has some conscience, and what he brought back in the evening was sister-in-law's hygiene. Lizixia was thinking about how to introduce her brother's deeds to her mother without getting angry. After thinking for a while, Lizixia decided to tell the truth. Mom, I have something I want to tell you. Xiaqin was still immersed in the aftertaste of meeting Zhong Tingyu for the first time at noon. When she heard her daughter calling her, she walked over with a smile and asked. Zixia, what do you want to say? Lizixia hesitated to speak, feeling a little embarrassed, but thinking of Li Yuan's instructions, she gritted her teeth and said. Well, Mom, the girlfriend my brother will bring back later is not Zhong Tingyu. Her name is Xia's Haijin. Don't call her by the wrong name later. Xiaqin was stunned for a moment, frowning. She didn't quite understand, so she asked doubtfully. Zixia, isn't your brother's girlfriend named Zhong Tingyu? She told me personally at noon. Your mother and I are a bit older, but we are not deaf. Lizixia explained carefully, Mom, is there a possibility that my brother has more than one girlfriend? Xiaqin was startled for a moment, then became furious again. She jumped up and stood up. This time she understood. He looked at his precious daughter with serious eyes and asked with a trembling voice, Zixia, what do you mean, your brother has other girlfriends besides Tingyu? Yeah, Lizixia was shocked when she saw Xiaqin's serious expression, looking a little nervous and worried. Xiaqin suddenly became angry and yelled, this bastard has two girlfriends at the same time. Has he forgotten about your eldest cousin? When Lizixia saw her mother looking like a furious lion, something that she had almost forgotten suddenly came to mind. 6 or 7 years ago, my uncle's eldest cousin had a date with someone when she was working in a factory in another place. At first, the whole family was very satisfied, but when it came time to talk about marriage, they discovered that the person my eldest cousin was talking to was a married man. The man had just been married for more than a year, and his wife was still pregnant. The eldest cousin couldn't bear this blow, so she jumped into the river and committed suicide. This matter was a very serious matter at the time, and was eventually taken to court. She was still young at the time, so she didn't know how it was handled in the end. My mother has watched her eldest cousin grow up and has a very good relationship with her, just like she treats her own daughter. I couldn't bear this blow at all. I was depressed for a long time and almost had a mental problem. Therefore, my mother particularly hates those scumbags who always give up and have only a few boats. Xiaqin cursed, her body trembled, and she almost fell to the ground, but Lizixia caught her with quick eyes and hands. Mom, don't get excited first. Sit down and talk carefully. Xiaqin stabilized her body and continued to curse emotionally, this little brat has only been in college for a few days. He has made a little money, but he doesn't learn good or bad things. But when he comes back, I have to beat him to death. With a girl as beautiful and sensible as Zhong Tingyu, he is still not satisfied. At such a young age, he is so carefree and so bad that he is bleeding. Is he worthy of this girl? Your brother is a bastard. What if something happens to one of these two girls and someone gets killed? Your brother will go to jail. Xiaqin cursed a few words in a panic, feeling a little confused. The image of her eldest niece being fished out of the river appeared in her mind. She only felt a little dizzy and her body was shaking violently. She is an out-and-out peasant, not very knowledgeable, but she has heard a lot of this kind of news from villages 10 miles away. She also personally experienced the incident where her eldest niece committed suicide by jumping into a river due to love. The fundamental reason was that the man had 2 boats, which made her not worried. Li Zixia was frightened and panicked when she heard Xiaqin's words about causing life and going to jail again. After all, she was only in her first year of high school and knew nothing about these things. She didn't expect it to be so serious. Li Zixia asked with a trembling voice, "Mom, it shouldn't be possible. Is it really that serious?" Xiaqin was very excited, very worried, and scared. Her voice was a little crying, and her expression was unusually serious. "Zixia, your brother has been dating 2 girlfriends at the same time. If they find out the truth and get upset and do something stupid like your eldest cousin, will their parents and family agree with your brother? Your brother will definitely have to eat it. A lawsuit or even jail time. This bastard, why don't you let me worry so much? He had such a good relationship with your eldest cousin when he was young. Don't you know what happened to your eldest cousin? How dare you do such a bastard thing? That girl Zhong Tingyu is so beautiful. Isn't your brother satisfied? This is really terrible. What should we do? If something happens in the future, how will our family survive?" Xiaqin shed tears of worry and fear as she talked. Her heart was uneasy, and her mind was filled with the scene of her eldest niece committing suicide. "Your brother was quite good when he was in high school and never made us worry. Why did he turn bad just after he entered college?" Li Zixia was confused when she saw her mother's reaction. "Mom, don't get excited yet, maybe my brother has something to do. Let's think about it, we may not reach that point. Sisters Haijin, Sister Wuxi, and Sister Tingyu, I have met them all before, and they all have good personalities. They are all in the same school, and they are all famous college students. They will not do stupid things easily. Mom, don't worry so much." Xiaqin stopped crying when she heard this, and suddenly realized something. She looked at her baby daughter in disbelief, and her voice became a little shriller. "Zixia, what did you say? This little bastard had 3 girlfriends at the same time." Listening to her mother calling her brother a little bastard, Li Zixia was very suspicious that her scumbag brother was picked up from the trash. Li Zixia hesitantly explained in a low voice, "Mom, my brother has 3 girlfriends, and they are all in the same school. You saw the one named Zhong Tingyu at noon, and there is another one named Bai Wuxi, who is my brother. A high school classmate named Xiaz Haijin is my brother's college classmate." Xiaqin was confused when she heard her daughter's confirmation. She couldn't understand at all. Her good son had only been in college for a month and a half. In just a month and a half, he had 3 girlfriends at the same time? This is simply... Anyway, she couldn't believe it. Is this still her proud, obedient, and sensible baby son? Rather than the reincarnation of a scumbag from which family? If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 352. Xiaqin was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She stared at Li Zixia with a serious look and said anxiously, "Zixia, what is your brother's situation? Tell me everything." Li Zixia was already scared and said nervously, "Mom, don't worry, I'll tell you right away." Xiaqin nodded, "Well, tell me in detail, one by one." "Mom, let me tell you about my brother's first love. Bai Wuxi first. Sister Wuxi and my brother were high school classmates and desk mates. My brother pursued Sister Wuxi for 3 years in high school, and it was not until college that they were completely in a relationship." Xiaqin heard that Li Yuan had been in love in high school, and suddenly everything became clear in her mind. No wonder, starting from the 2nd semester of senior high school, Li Yuan's expenses suddenly increased a lot, and he became more concerned about his clothes. The shoes he wore were all sneakers that he had never heard of, and they didn't look cheap. Xiaqin asked in confusion, "Zixia, have you seen this girl named Bai Wuxi? What does she look like? She should be pretty, right?" Li Zixia nodded repeatedly, "Mom, my brother's 3 girlfriends are all very beautiful, even prettier than movie stars. I just met Sister Wixie a week ago. She has a good personality and is very gentle to me. She told me a lot of interesting things about my brother in high school. Sister Wixie and my brother went to the same school. She scored more than 640 points in the college entrance examination, which is better than my brother's. Listening to Li Zixia's introduction, Xiaqin nodded continuously, and she had a better impression of Bai Wixie in her heart. Her son's high school classmate means that the family is from the same county, close to each other, knows each other well, and is from a famous university. She has better grades than her son, looks very beautiful, and is very tall, which perfectly meets the standards of her daughter-in-law. Hearing that Bai Wixie was so outstanding, Xiaqin was even more puzzled. Her son had been pursuing a girl for 3 years and was admitted to the same university. After finally establishing a relationship, why did he have another girlfriend? Xiaqin was full of doubts and continued to ask, "Zixia, there is more, keep talking." Li Zixia talked about Xia's hygiene again, showing a smiling expression and began to praise her constantly. "Mom, let me tell you, my brother will bring home Sister's hygiene, who is simply perfect in my heart. Sister's hygiene has a gentle personality, cooks delicious food, and is very patient in tutoring my homework. She is very careful and gentle. She has lived here for a few days and didn't let me clean the house. Mom, you will understand when you meet Sister's hygiene. She is exactly the kind of ideal girl. She is so perfect that it is a little unreal." Listening to Li Zixia's endless praise, Xiaqin was full of expectations for Xia's hygiene, who was about to meet. Xiaqin asked with a smile, "Is this girl named Xia's hygiene really as good as you said?" Li Zixia answered seriously, "Mom, I never lie, Sister's hygiene is better than me." Xiaqin asked casually, "Oh, where is her family from?" Li Zixia was slightly startled, and her voice suddenly weakened a little. She had been to Shancheng with Li Yuan, so she naturally knew Xia's hygiene's family situation. Seeing her baby daughter's expression, Xiaqin frowned slightly and asked, "Is there a problem with Xia's hygiene's family situation?" Li Zixia waved her hands quickly, biting the bullet, and explained in a low voice, No, Sister's hygiene is really pitiful. Sister's hygiene's parents died when she was very young, and Sister's hygiene and her brother lived in her grandmother's house." Listening to it, Xiaqin was also stunned. This girl named Xia's hygiene was indeed very pitiful. She lost her parents since she was a child. Then, there was a huge anger and great panic in her heart. If Li Yuan had a good relationship with this poor girl who lost both her parents at a young age, it would be fine. Children of poor families grow up early. The key point is that his bastard son has 2 other girlfriends. If this poor girl who lost both her parents at a young age knew the truth, what kind of stupid things would she do? Xiaqin's body trembled violently, and she didn't dare to think deeply. The other party's family was already very pitiful. If she encountered such a thing again, what if she couldn't think it through? Xiaqin thought of what her bastard son had done, and she couldn't help the anger in her heart. She cursed again. She was really scared. "Li Yuan, you bastard, you really want to piss me off to death. How dare you provoke any girl? Don't you care about the consequences?" Seeing his mother's rage, Li Zixia could only comfort her, "Mom, my brother will bring Sister's hygiene back soon, calm down and be happy." Xiaqin slowly calmed down and snorted, "When I get back, I have to ask your brother what he wants to do. He really wants to piss me off to death, but..." Li Yuan didn't know that Queen Mother Xia would be angry, worried and afraid because he had a few more girlfriends. At this time, he had already taken Xia's hygiene's hand with a relaxed look, took the elevator, and arrived at the door of his house. "Hygiene, I bought this gift before, all of which are gold jewelry. Take it and give it to my mother." Xia's hygiene took the gold gift box from Li Yuan's hand, stared at him hesitantly, and whispered. Li Yuan, this is not good, I want to prepare a gift for my aunt myself. Li Yuan pinched Xia's Haijin's face and said with a smile, it's okay, there will be many opportunities in the future. Yeah, Xia's Haijin hummed lightly, and her little head was already thinking about what gifts to prepare for uncle and aunt, Li Yuan and Li Zixia in the future. The two came to the door, and Li Yuan pressed the doorbell to remind them. Soon, the door opened. Xia Qin and Li Zixia appeared in front of the door. Li Yuan held Xia's Haijin's hand and greeted him with a smile. Mom, Zixia, we are back. Xia's Haijin looked nervously at the woman in front of her who looked somewhat similar to Li Yuan, her heart was in her throat, she was very nervous and shy. Hello, aunt. Xia Qin just glanced at Xia's Haijin for the first time, and her expression was a little stunned. She was such a beautiful girl, with a unique peaceful temperament, and she seemed to be very gentle, virtuous, and sensible. Haijin, come in and sit down quickly. Li Zixia made a face at Li Yuan, then came to Xia's Haijin with a smile, hugged her arm, and greeted her warmly. Sisters Haijin, don't be stunned, come in quickly, I haven't seen you for several days. Li Yuan held Xia's Haijin's little hand and said with a smile, you're welcome at home. Xia's Haijin followed in shyly and nervously. Chapter 211 Li Yuan was trained and the entrepreneurial base began operations. When Queen Mother Xia saw Xia's Haijin, she was very enthusiastic. She held washed apples, bananas, etc., and stuffed them into Xia's Haijin's hands. Come, girl, sit on the sofa for a while and eat some fruit first. Xia's Haijin sat upright, her body upright, as if she was listening in class. She took the fruit handed over by Xia Qin with slightly trembling hands, and shyly thanked her with flushed cheeks. Thank you, aunt. Xia Qin sat down next to Xia's Haijin, held her hand, and asked with a smile, daughter, your name is Xia's Haijin, are you the Xia from Xia Tian? Yes, Xia's Haijin nodded lightly. Queen Mother Xia grinned, what a coincidence, my surname is also Xia. Maybe we were the same family a few generations ago. Xia's Haijin was startled, looked at the plainly dressed woman in front of her with a cute look, and asked in a low voice, Auntie's surname is also Xia. Li Yuan smiled on the side and continued, Haijin, my mother has the same surname as yours. If we talk about it above, we might actually be from the same family. Li Zixia joked with a smile, he, sisters Haijin, my mother's surname is Xia, your surname is also Xia, and my name is Zixia. What a coincidence. We are so destined. As expected, we are not a family. We don't belong to the same family. Woolen cloth. Xia Qin held Xia's Haijin's little hand, and the more she looked at it, the more satisfied she became. That's right, Haijin, as soon as I saw you, I felt that I was very destined to you. When you come home, don't be shy, just feel like you're at home. Well, thank you auntie. Xia's Haijin was infected by the enthusiasm of Queen Mother Xia and Li Zixia, and her tense body gradually relaxed a little. Queen Mother Xia held Xia's Haijin's hand again and chatted kindly, by the way, I heard from Zixia that your hometown is in a mountain city, and the scenery there is pretty good, right? Xia's Haijin looked a little nervous and lowered his head slightly, well, our hometown is in the mountains. There are mountains and water there, but the transportation is not very good. Queen Mother Xia smiled and said, the mountain city is quite far from the magic city. It's inconvenient for you to go home. You will have to come home more often in the future. Zixia and I just came to the magic city this year. We don't have many acquaintances here, not even anyone to chat with, none. Xia's Haijin glanced at Li Yuan secretly, smiled sweetly, and said, okay, auntie, I will come often. Li Zixia also sat next to Xia's Haijin, holding her arm, looking very affectionate, and spoke with a smile. He, sisters Haijin, I still want to ask you some questions about learning. The teaching materials here are a little different from those back home. Xia's Haijin asked gently, Zixia, do you want to do the questions now? Li Yuan was standing aside, hearing that Xia's Haijin and Li Zixia were about to do the questions. He coughed quickly, took out the gift box from the side, and said with a smile. Mom, Zhaijin knows that you are going back to Magic City. Come with me this afternoon to pick out a gift for you. See if you like it. With that said, he handed the gold jewelry gift box to Queen Mother Xia. For someone of my mother's background and age, she is not interested in diamonds, bags, watches, cosmetics, etc. Instead, she is interested in things like gold jewelry that preserve value. In my hometown in northern Anhui, when getting married, the man usually buys the 3 golds for the woman, that is, gold bracelets, gold rings, and gold necklaces. Diamonds have just begun to become popular. A complete set of gold bracelets, gold necklaces, gold rings, gold earrings and other gold jewelry were placed behind Mrs. Xia's back. Xia Qin was obviously shocked. She stared blankly at the exquisite gold jewelry, as if all her attention was drawn away. Xia Qin was trembling at the shock of the voice, and touched one of these gold ornaments with one hand. Xia Yuan, Zhaijin, this is too wasteful. These gold jewelry cannot be eaten or drunk. Why waste this money? If you have some money, you can deposit it in the bank to increase the interest, and save it for future emergencies. Xia's Haijin's expression tightened and she glanced at Xia Qin with a slightly worried look, fearing that Queen Mother Xia would hate her for this. Li Yuanhun laughed nonchalantly, Mom, it's only tens of thousands of dollars. This is a little bit of my heart and mind from Zhaijin. Just accept it. Moreover, the current price of gold is very low, and I feel it will rise sharply in the future. If you have the money, buy more gold and make sure you make a profit. It is much more cost-effective than earning interest on deposits in the bank. Hearing what Li Yuan said, Xia Qin breathed a sigh of relief, with a smile on her eyebrows. Every woman doesn't like such golden things. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 353. You two are thoughtful. Then, they chatted about family matters. As an experienced person, Queen Mother Xia soon found out Xia's Haijin's family and personal situation. Xia's Haijin was naive and answered all the questions Queen Mother Xia asked. Li Zixia, who was standing by, also interrupted from time to time. The 3 women were in a drama, and the topics they talked about made Li Yuan a little drowsy. Li Yuan chatted for a while, laughed, and gradually got drunk. He stretched his body and said, Mom, Zhaijin, Zixia, you guys chat first, I'm going to take a shower. Xia Qin glared at Li Yuan fiercely and waved her hand in dissatisfaction. Go quickly, you smell like alcohol, it's terrible. You look like your dad, you're also a drunkard. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, feeling a little strange, why Queen Mother Xia was so dissatisfied with him today. When Li Yuan finished washing up, it was about 10 o'clock in the evening. Wearing pajamas, he came to the living room and saw 3 people still talking there. Li Yuan coughed and hinted. Ahem, Mom, it's already 10 o'clock in the evening, it's time to rest. Tonight, after being teased by Big Bear Girl in the hotel, his body also reacted. This beautiful time of the night can't be wasted on these meaningless chats. Xia's Haijin is a very simple girl who doesn't know how to refuse at all, especially when the chat partners are Xia Qin and Li Zixia. Xia Qin heard Li Yuan's voice and glared at this philandering bastard son fiercely. She took Xia's Haijin's hand and said gently with a smile. Zhaijin, it's getting late. You should also wash up and rest early. Xia's Haijin was inexplicably relieved in her heart, and her voice suddenly became much lighter. Okay, auntie. After Xia's Haijin went to the bathroom to wash up, Queen Mother Xia immediately changed her expression and looked at Li Yuan with a very serious expression. Li Yuan, come out with me. Li Yuan saw the serious tone of Queen Mother Xia, and his heart skipped a beat, with a bad premonition. He muttered, Mom, I'm tired all day, and I'm going to bed. What's the matter, can't we talk about it tomorrow? Xia Qin snorted coldly, no, if I don't make it clear now, your mother will not sleep well all night. Stop talking nonsense, roll over here quickly, I have a few words to ask you. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, well, okay. Xia Qin pushed the door open directly, came to the stairs in the corridor, and looked at Li Yuan who was following him step by step with a serious look. The voice was like the coldest winter, cold and piercing, making Li Yuan shiver. Tell me, what's going on? Mom, I don't understand what you said. Li Yuan habitually quibbled, but his heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he had vaguely guessed what Queen Mother Xia was going to ask. Sure enough, Xia Qin sneered and mocked, Li Yuan, you bastard, how did your father and I teach you? You don't learn well at such a young age, but just follow those bad men. How are you going to deal with the three of them? If you don't handle it well, if something really happens, your father and I will not live. As she spoke, Xia Qin started to cry softly, pointing at Li Yuan's nose and scolding. You bastard, have you forgotten what happened to your sister Yuan? If you date several girlfriends at the same time, if they know, if anyone can't get over it, you will hurt them for life, and you will also hurt yourself for life, and you will go to jail, and this family will break up. Isn't the girl named Zhong Tingyu yesterday pretty enough? Are you still not satisfied? And this little girl today, Mom, you have such a good personality and look like a fairy. You lost your parents when you were young and depended on your brother who is 1 or 2 years old. How could you be so cruel as to do that? If something happened, would you be able to take the responsibility? Li Yuan, you have been admitted to university, you can make money, and you are a man. But if I had known that you would become like this, I would rather you were still that unknown poor boy. At least, I would not play with other girls' feelings casually. And the girl named by that you pursued in high school, Zixia said that you have met her parents. Li Yuan, you bastard, what can I say about you? I will only go home for a month, and you have to piss me off to death, right? Li Yuan listened to Xia Qin's tearful scolding, and his head was a little confused. He suddenly realized a problem. His mother and he had completely different perspectives on things. Especially after experiencing the tragic experience of his eldest cousin Xia Yuan, he might have a stress reaction to such things. Queen Mother Xia's worries were not unreasonable, and he did understand, but at that time, I was obsessed with lust and wanted to be a scumbag, so how could I think so much? Li Yuan looked at his mother who was still crying, and comforted her seriously, Mom, don't worry, I will take care of my emotional affairs. Xia Qin looked at Li Yuan coldly and frowned, then tell me, how do you deal with it? Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, Mom, I will find a way, don't worry about it, I promise that they will be fine. Xia Qin frowned and snorted, if you were not born by me, I would not bother to care about you. I tell you, I don't care about other things, you must not cause an accident for me, otherwise, I will not forgive you. Yesterday's Zhong Tingyu and the Xia's Haijin are both very good girls. If you can find one, you are lucky. You must not hurt them too deeply and force them to go that way. Li Yuan nodded bravely, Mom, I know everything, don't worry. After Xia Qin scolded Li Yuan severely, the anger in her heart also dissipated a little. She glared at Li Yuan again and asked, and your high school classmate, are you also planning to take him home for me to meet? Li Yuan nodded awkwardly, Mom, Don't you have to drink a bowl of water to balance it? If you see 2, you will see her, and if you see 3, you will see her. I'm going to bring her back tomorrow night for you to see. Xiaqin glared at Li Yuan and snorted coldly, you still know that a bowl of water is even. If one day they know the truth, I will tear you apart. Your father and I have been honest and responsible our whole lives, how come we gave birth to such a carefree bastard son like you? Li Yuan chuckled, Mom, is it possible that the son you gave birth to is so outstanding that outstanding girls are rushing to pounce on him? Xiaqin glanced at Li Yuan unexpectedly, frowned and said, Xiao Yuan, when did you become so glib? Li Yuan raised his eyebrows and grinned, really? I'm still the same person as before. Xiaqin shook her head, you were not like this before. You used to be very honest and not so frivolous. Li Yuan smiled, isn't it normal for men to change over the course of their 18th year? The more they change, the better they speak. I'm a college student now, right, Mom? Xiaqin looked startled, and looked deeply at Li Yuan. She suddenly felt in her heart that her son, who suddenly grew up, would bring girls home, and he must have reached that stage. Xiaqin stared at Li Yuan closely and sighed. Xiao Yuan, you have grown up and become successful. Your father and I can't help you with anything. I just hope that you can remember one sentence. For generations of our old Li family, we have done our duty and obeyed our duty. Be law-abiding. Neither your father nor I want you to go into evil ways. Li Yuan put away his playful smile, faced Empress Dowager Xia's worried gaze seriously, and nodded solemnly. Mom, I know. Xiaqin looked at Li Yuan with deep meaning again, as long as you understand, I won't say more, Mom, it's time for Zhaijin to take a bath and go back to the house. After a pause, Queen Mother Xia gave another meaningful reminder, be safe at night, you are only a freshman. Li Yuan blushed, nodded invisibly, and ran back to the bedroom as if running away. In the master bedroom, although this was not the first time for the two of them, Li Yuan's face still felt a little hot when he thought of Empress Dowager Xia's meaningful reminder just now. He brought his girlfriend home and lived in the same room and slept in the same bedroom. If nothing happened, no one would believe it. Xia's Haijin was wearing pajamas, lying in Li Yuan's arms, her clear and charming big eyes reflected Li Yuan's figure, and asked in a low voice. Li Yuan, is there something on your mind? Li Yuan shook his head, touched Xia's Haijin's hair with one hand, hugged her into his arms with the other, squeezed her, and asked with a smile. How did it feel to see my mom today? Xia's Haijin snorted, stared at Li Yuan shyly, and answered in a low voice. Auntie is very nice and enthusiastic. She asked me many questions, but she was very nervous. Li Yuan pinched Xia's Haijin's cheek, kissed her on the cheek, and smiled. My mother has that kind of personality. She has no bad intentions. You don't need to worry at all. You will understand after we get along for a long time. Yeah, Xia's Haijin nodded. Suddenly, her pretty face turned red, she glanced at Li Yuan shyly, then lowered her head, her heart beating rapidly. She and Li Yuan hadn't slept together like this for many days since they came back from the mountain city. Li Yuan kissed Xia's Haijin's earlobe with his mouth, and smiled, Dear's Haijin, it's late at night, it's time to get down to business. Xia's Haijin's face suddenly turned red with embarrassment. She said softly, yeah, shrank back, and took the initiative to bury her head in the bed. Li Yuan hissed lightly, his energy was shaken, and a happy smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Hey, Secretary Xia, you are so sensible. The next day, the sun rose 3 poles. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 354. Li Yuanke was quietly awakened by the phone call. He barely slept all night last night. Xia's Haijin also changed from her usual shyness and cherished this rare opportunity and became extra proactive. Even under Li Yuan's guidance, several new postures were developed, allowing Li Yuan to greedily and tirelessly guide you step by step. Li Yuan glanced at the phone and pressed the answer button. "Hey, Team Leader Lin." Lin Yuwei's voice came from the phone. "Mr. Li, I'm sorry to disturb your rest. I need to report a few tasks to you. I wonder if you are free." Li Yuan slapped his head. After drinking wine after dinner last night, he was discussing human body mechanics with Xia's Haijin. He even forgot to ask about the data on Zhihu that was online all day yesterday. "You can tell me when you have time." Lin Yuwei said excitedly, "Mr. Li, the first thing I want to report to you is the 24-hour data on Zhihu." "Oh, how about the 24-hour data? Did it reach the expected goal?" Li Yuan asked. Lin Yuwei answered cheerfully, "Mr. Li, in the first 24 hours, the number of Zhihu registered people reached 8,126,549, far exceeding our expected target of 5 million people. In addition to the registered users far exceeding expectations, the number of 24-hour active users also reached 1.1 million, more than 3 times the expected target. This shows that users highly recognize the content of our website." Li Yuan also looked excited after hearing various data. According to this data, Zhihu has taken the most solid step towards success. As long as it can maintain growth in the next week, it will truly be a great success. It's very good. Keep up the good work. After the 1-week verification period is completed, everyone will be rewarded. When Lin Yuwei heard this, her eyes lit up and she couldn't help but flatter her. "He, Mr. Li, you are really the best boss in the world." "Yeah, don't praise me, I'll be proud," Li Yuan also joked to himself. It was also his first time to be a boss, and he mentally strived to be a good boss instead of a hateful capitalist. "If there is anything else, please tell me." Lin Yuwei moistened her throat and reminded, "Mr. Li, all the equipment and personnel are in place. I wonder if they are connected at Daxia University and can they be installed?" Li Yuan nodded, "Well, I have arranged for people to connect the water and electricity grid, and the environment has been cleaned up. I will go to the company in a while, and then go to school with you." After hanging up the phone, Li Yuan stretched out and felt refreshed. He smelled the fragrance in the quilt and felt a little nostalgic in his heart. Since entering the university, Bai Wuxi, Zhong Tingyu, Xia's Haijin, and Zhang Ziyu have given him completely different feelings, but they are all top-notch experiences, which are both psychological and physical satisfaction. One is well-behaved and obedient, one is cold on the outside and hot on the inside, one is playful and cute, and the other is as gentle as water. Well, actually, I have the 4 of them, and I should be satisfied in this life, Li Yuan sighed in his heart. The Queen Mother Xia's scolding last night made him realize that he sometimes ignored their psychological feelings. They are all top-notch girls, all at an age when they are full of longing for love, and they are all at an age when it is easy to be impulsive for love. If there is a mental or spiritual problem, then there may really be a big problem. Li Yuan thought of what happened to his eldest cousin, and was suddenly shocked. He was also 18 or 19 years old when he committed suicide by jumping into the river. It is only 2008 now, and it is completely different from the future 2023. In this era, relationships are not as casual as in the future. In the future, just by looking at someone right, you can play poker, for free. Perhaps, I should calm down and deal with their feelings first, Li Yuan muttered, his eyes gradually becoming firmer. Li Yuan wore pajamas and came to the living room and saw Xia's Haijin making dumplings with Queen Mother Xia. Seeing Li Yuan get up, Xia's Haijin smiled shyly at him, and the scenes from last night could not help but appear in her mind. Queen Mother Xia glared at Li Yuan angrily, "It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. If you sleep a little longer, you can have lunch." Li Yuan chuckled and thought to himself, I didn't sleep much last night. I didn't go to bed until 4 or 5 o'clock, so I couldn't sleep a little longer. Mom, Zhaijin, why are you making dumplings? Xiaqin joked, it's not like Zhaijin loves you. I know you like to eat dumplings. I got up early in the morning to knead the noodles, roll out the dumpling wrappers, and chop the fillings. Li Yuan came to Zhaijin's side, rubbed her head, and said with a smile, Zhaijin, you also need to rest for a while. You slept so late last night, so you don't have to get up so early. Zhaijin's cheeks turned red, and she spoke shyly like a mosquito, I'm fine. Seeing Zhaijin's appearance, Li Yuan smiled and said, Zhaijin, I'm going to the company and school in a minute. Are you with me or at home? Zhaijin hasn't answered yet. Xiaqin looked at Li Yuan doubtfully, does your company have to work overtime on weekends? Li Yuan nodded, thinking about how to explain to Queen Mother Xia that this was a company he opened. He is the boss, not a wage earner. Queen Mother Xia glanced at Li Yuan, you can go alone if you want to. Just don't forget to come back for lunch at noon. Li Yuan smiled awkwardly and looked at Zhaijin, Zhaijin, then you can make dumplings at home. I'll go take care of the company's affairs and I'll be back soon. Yeah, Zhaijin was inexplicably relieved. Li Yuan waved his hand, Mom, Zhaijin, Zixia, I'll leave first. Li Yuan first drove to the company, exchanged some things with Lin Yue and Hu Zhenqiang face to face, and then took Lin Yue to the teaching and research building of the school without stopping. After arrangements were made last night, the water and power grids were all installed this morning. Team Leader Lin, this is the entrepreneurial base approved by Daxia University. It is as big as 6 classrooms, with a total area of about 300 square meters. It should be enough as the operation base of Zhihu.com, right? Lin Yue looked at it seriously. Although the environment of the teaching and research room is ordinary and not decorated like in the company, fortunately the space is spacious enough. Mr. Li, this place is pretty good. Being on the university campus and being able to feel the youthful atmosphere of the school makes me miss university life a little bit and I want to work here. Chapter 212 How much money does Li Yuan have? A precursor to a palace fight? Listening to Lin Yue's answer, Li Yuan couldn't help but smile. Life in the university was indeed very nostalgic. College life is also the most comfortable and carefree happy time in a person's life. There is no pressure to study in high school, no worries after graduation, and there are not so many co-workers who talk too much and stab others behind their backs. You can also make some real friends. If you have nothing to do, play ball, play games, fall in love, listen to classes, it is simply a paradise-like life. I didn't have a good experience in college life in my previous life. In this life, I have to experience it well and do everything I can do, so that I will have no regrets in my restarted life. Lin Yue asked again, Mr. Li, do you want to inform the staff now to move in all the purchased computers, printers, servers, and other equipment? Li Yuan nodded, well, let's move. Inform the interns and poor students in the school to come and help today. Clean up first. Recruiting some interns and poor college students from Daxia University does not require Li Yuan to do it himself. With so many people in the company, they can naturally execute it well. A few days ago, he had made arrangements to recruit some sophomores and juniors from Daxia University to work part-time at the entrepreneurial base. The appeal of working part-time on campus is still very high, and the part-time salary offered by Li Yuan is not low, basically similar to the part-time salary on the market. Because we are sitting in an office and not handing out flyers or anything like that, we don't need to travel a lot, so there are a lot of people who signed up for interviews. As a temporary operation base, in addition to a few backbones of the company, the rest are recruiting intern college students. Their main tasks are also very simple, as long as they know how to use computers. control comments, set the pace, post, draw traffic. All forums do this. This is a method that has been proven to be effective, and Li Yuan is no exception. Okay, Mr. Li, I will notify the staff to install the equipment, and notify the interns to come here and identify themselves. We have interviewed a total of 12 part-time interns, including 8 boys, 4 girls, 6 juniors, and 6 sophomores. Well, yes, you can look at the arrangements, Li Yuan responded. He also picked up his cell phone and called his 3 roommates, Lucia, Wu Hao, and Suzuki Yang. The 3 of them are also willing to work part-time in the company, which can also be considered as providing some benefits for several roommates and giving them some care. As for Yijing, whose family is even poorer, Li Yuan also sent a cryptic message to ask, and Yijing's reply was that he chose to continue working part-time in the library. In this regard, Li Yuan could only express silence. D-3223 boys dormitory. Lucia said excitedly, Mouse, Xiaoqiang, Brother Yuan just called me and asked us to go to classroom 103 of the teaching and research building now. Wu Hao put down the arm strength device in his hand, and his biceps with obvious outlines showed off his strong body. After hearing what Lucia said, his eyes suddenly lit up. I remember, Brother Yuan mentioned to us yesterday that the college student entrepreneurship base approved by the school is in the teaching and research building? He also agreed to let us do part-time work. Do you want us to go to work today? Lucia looked extremely excited and a little nervous. It must be, otherwise what else would we do if we were asked to go to the teaching and research building? Xiaoqiang, stop hitting your crossfire line. Hurry up and change your clothes. Brother Yuan is still waiting for us there. Suzuki Yang reluctantly logged off, glanced at Lucia and Wu Hao, who were looking excited, and muttered dissatisfiedly, Maid, my MVP is gone. Hey, 6th brother, Mouse, how much money does Brother Yuan have? I'm very curious. I'm buying a luxury car and a mansion, and I'm running a company. It feels unfathomable. As soon as these words came out, Lucia and Wu Hao were stunned. This was indeed a problem. A question that the whole class wants to know. Lucia stretched out his fingers and calculated carefully. I heard Brother Yuan say before that his monthly manuscript fee is about 2 million. I read Brother Yuan's book. It was released in early June this year, and VIP subscriptions were opened in early July. From the beginning of July to now, it's only 3 months. If you calculate it as 2 million per month, Brother Yuan will earn almost 6 million, right? If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 355. Tisk, tisk, 6 million, mad. I earned more money in 3 months than my parents earned in 100 years. I'm so envious that I cried. My annual living expenses are only more than 8,000 yuan, and 6 million yuan is enough for me to spend several lifetimes. Wu Hao interjected, Lao Lu, Xiaoqiang, Brother Yuan has been spending a lot of money recently. Just a few cars should be a lot of money. Lucia counted again and began to calculate Li Yuan's large purchases. I know, Brother Yuan owns a Lamborghini himself. I don't know the specific price, but judging from the appearance, it may cost several million, so let's calculate it as 4 million. There is also a BMW X6, which costs 1 million. Here. Zhongtingyu bought a Porsche 911 for 1.5 million, bought a BMW Z4 for Biwixi for 800,000, and bought at least 3 houses outside, each for 1 million. We all know this. And what we don't know. If you count all these things, you can't even afford 10 million. Where did Brother Yuan get so much money? Or is Brother Yuan himself a secretly rich second generation? Wu Hao continued, there is also the company opened by Brother Yuan. It is such a large area and covers an area of several thousand square meters. It must be at least several million. The wages of so many employees and the promotion of Zhi website cut it off. The reward must be a lot of money. After all, Brother Yuan must be a multimillionaire at the very least. The exact amount of his net worth is even more difficult to guess. Su Ziqiang couldn't help but curse, damn it, Brother Yuan is so awesome. He is a multimillionaire at only 18 years old. No wonder Brother Yuan can find 4 such beautiful girlfriends. Lucia urged, haha, Xiaoqiang, stop being so impatient and change your clothes quickly. I'm going to hug the multimillionaire's lap. The seafood I ate last night tasted really good. When I follow Brother Yuan from now on, I won't be able to eat popular and spicy food every day. Wu Hao also licked his lips and snored. Thinking back to the seafood he ate last night, he still felt unsatisfied. 1 person is 688, 12 people is 8,000 plus, our annual tuition is only more than 3,000, tisk, we can finish it in 1 meal. 2 years of tuition. If I told my mother, she would definitely think that I was dreaming. This is the simple and unpretentious life of a multimillionaire. She would be so envious. I also want to be a multimillionaire. No, a millionaire is enough. If I find a beautiful girlfriend, I will have no regrets after 4 years of college. Stop daydreaming now. Brother Yuan is still waiting for us in the teaching and research building. Hold on to Brother Yuan's thighs. These things will happen sooner or later. As soon as Lucia, Wu Hao, and Su Ziqiang walked out of the boys' dormitory, they met 4 girls, Li Lanrong, Gao Xian, Ji Chen Chen, and Shen Ziyu. Li Lanrong took the initiative to say hello with a smile. Lucia, what a coincidence, what are you guys going to do? Lu Jiaxin jokingly said, we are getting ready to work for Brother Yuan. Li Lanrong was slightly startled and asked in confusion, what kind of job do you work for Li Yuan? Wu Hao combed his shiny hairstyle, glanced at Ji Chen Chen among the 4, and took the initiative to answer. You beauties, don't you know? Brother Yuan applied for entrepreneurial support for college students from the school, and the school approved a site for him as an entrepreneurial base. The location is in the teaching and research building. Brother Yuan asked us to go to the teaching and research building now, probably because of this entrepreneurial base. Wu Hao's words made the girls Li Lanrong and Ji Chen Chen look shocked and surprised. They really didn't know about this, and Xiao's Haijin didn't tell them either. Li Yuan actually wants to establish an entrepreneurial base in the school. Li Lanrong rolled up his hair, looked at Wu Hao and the others, and asked curiously, can we go see Li Yuan's entrepreneurial base? This Wu Hao was still hesitating, but Lu Jie readily agreed. This must be no problem. We are all our own people. Brother Yuan will definitely not blame us. Li Lanrong's cheeks turned slightly red when he heard Lucia's words of one of his own. He looked deeply at the tall Lucia, with strange emotions in his eyes. Lucia has a cheerful personality and is 1.9 meters tall. Although he is not very handsome, his height is a big plus because he has played basketball for a long time and has a certain muscle outline. He is not as thin as when he first started school. She kind of likes this type. Li Lanrong got rid of the messy thoughts in his mind, looked at his 3 roommates Ji Chen Chen, Gao Xian, and Shen Ziyu with slightly red cheeks, and asked with a smile. Should we go to Li Yuan's entrepreneurial base to have a look? Ji Chen Chen's eyes lit up and he nodded with a smile on his face, okay, I have nothing to do this weekend anyway, let's go see what Li Yuan's company is like. Gao Xian also smiled and replied, then let's go and take a look. Speaking of which, I'm quite curious about what a company that can develop an online forum like Zhihu is like. Hee, last night, after I returned to the dormitory after dinner, I also registered a Zhihu account and surfed the internet for several hours. It felt very interesting and very different from other online forums. Especially that the replies on the confession wall are really funny and interesting. There are so many talents of all kinds on the internet. Su Ziqiang suddenly added, That confession wall is really interesting. It's like a large-scale dating forum. I feel that it might become a dating area in the future. Gao Xian pursed his lips and smiled secretly, haha, isn't it just a blind date forum, but it's aimed at college students, and there is an additional channel for mutual acquaintance, which is very suitable for girls like me who are socially anxious. Then I'll go with you. Don't let Li Yuan wait too long. After Li Lanrong finished speaking, she suddenly thought of something and glanced at Shen Ziu, who was silent. By the way, Ziu, will you go with us? Everyone in their dormitory knew that Shen Ziu had a lot of opinions about Li Yuan because of Xia's Haijin, and often said that Li Yuan was not good in front of Xia's Haijin. Even Xia's Haijin, who was always soft and never lost her temper, couldn't help but get angry and scold Shen Ziu. Ji Chen Chen and Gao Xian also looked at Shen Ziu curiously, waiting for her answer. Shen Ziu was about to refuse, but facing the gazes of several people, her eyes turned, and she straightened her body again, and answered with a meaningful tone. Go, why not? I want to see what kind of company Li Yuan's company is. I hope it is worthy of its name, not a shell company. Several people, including Lucia, smiled but said nothing. Zhu has been launched nationwide. It's funny that you are still talking about this now. Several people walked and laughed towards the teaching and research building. The focus of the topic was always around Li Yuan. Chen Chen, I want to ask you a question. Don't mind. Wu Hao was a little gossipy and found a topic to talk to Ji Chen Chen. Ji Chen Chen was a little surprised. Oh, you ask? Do you know if Brother Yuan gave any gifts to classmates Haijin? Give gifts? A lot, mobile phones, computers, clothes, cosmetics, a lot. No, I mean, gifts like what Brother Yuan gave to his two girlfriends in the School of Finance. You mean, sports cars? Yeah, that's right. Haijin doesn't have a driver's license yet, but she told us yesterday that Li Yuan gave her a house, which is also worth 1 or 2 million. I was saying that Brother Yuan is such a generous person. Why didn't he give Zijin any gifts, but instead gave her a mansion? Haha, Li Yuan really treats everyone equally. Being his girlfriend, you don't have to worry about being at a disadvantage. Otherwise, why would Wang Zhirong pursue Li Yuan so fiercely? She said she found a boyfriend last night, but I don't know if it's true or not. Did she really give up? Who knows, maybe it's true. The group was talking and laughing all the way, when suddenly, a white sports car drove towards them. Lucia was sharp-eyed, staring at the figure in the sports car, his eyes wide open, and patted Wu Hao's shoulder beside him. Huzi, does the girl in front look familiar? Why do I feel like she's the girl from yesterday? Wu Hao stuck his head out. Yes, she looks familiar. Hey, isn't this a Porsche 911? Brother Yuan gave it to his girlfriend. Lucia nodded enviously. That should be it. There's probably only one Porsche 911 sports car in our school. It's really cool. When several people were talking, suddenly, this Porsche sports car stopped in front of them. Hey, why did it stop? It stopped right in front of us. When Lucia and others were wondering, suddenly, the window of the Porsche was lowered, and a stunning face appeared inside, smiling and greeting them. Lucia, hello. Looking at Zhong Tingyu's face, Lucia, Wu Hao, and others' heartbeats kept speeding up. Yesterday on the playground, they only caught a glimpse of her, and Zhong Tingyu was wearing sunglasses, which covered part of her beauty. Today, her beauty was fully displayed, which made Lucia and others feel amazed. Lucia and Zhong Tingyu had met several times and had dinner together. Lucia took the initiative to smile and greeted them. Sister-in-law, classmate Shan Shan, what a coincidence, are you going out for a drive? When Zhong Tingyu heard Lucia call sister-in-law, her cheeks flushed slightly, but she was very happy in her heart, and replied with a smile. Well, I just came back from the mall after buying some things. Are you going? Lucia's expression moved, and he replied, Sister-in-law, the school approved an entrepreneurial base for Brother UN in the teaching and research building, and asked a few of us to go over and help. By the way, Brother UN is also in the teaching and research building now. When Zhong Tingyu heard that Li Yuan was now in school, her beautiful eyes lit up, and suddenly an idea came to her mind. She wanted to meet Li Yuan and give him a scare. Zhong Tingyu smiled and replied, Oh, okay, you go first. Lucia waved his hand, Okay, sister-in-law, goodbye. After Zhong Tingyu and Ding Shanshan left, Lucia suddenly heard an inexplicable voice in his ear. Lucia, whose side are you on? You call her sister-in-law so easily. Lucia turned around and saw Li Lanrong looking at him with a smile. It was she who said this. Lucia touched his head awkwardly, that, I stand on Brother Yuan's side. Tisk, Li Lanrong rolled her eyes at Lucia, her eyes charming and moving, and teased Lucia, Lucia, we are in the same class as Zijin. You should stand on Zijin's side in the future, don't stand on the wrong side. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 356. After Li Lanrong said this, not only Lucia was stunned, but also Wu Hao and Su Ziqiang were a little dazed. Why does this sentence feel a bit like palace fighting? Li Lanrong's words do have this meaning. They are roommates with Xia's Haijin, so they will naturally stand on Xia's Haijin's side. Lucia suddenly asks strangely, Brothers, do you know how many wives Li Yuan, the first emperor of Tang dynasty, had? Sixth brother, why are you asking this? Tang Jiaozu was the founding emperor of the Tang dynasty. Although he is not very famous, he seems to have many wives. Of course, the most famous ones are his sons. Wu Hao just finished speaking. Suddenly, his eyes widened, and joked. Brother Yuan is also called Li Yuan. Do you think Brother Yuan is trying to emulate Tang Jiaozu? Tang Jiaozu's four sons fought each other and the Suanwu Gate incident occurred. Tisk tisk, Brother Yuan seems to have four girlfriends too. Why do I feel it's such a coincidence? Lucia also laughed and couldn't help but teasing, if Brother Yuan's girlfriends all give him a son after graduating from college, it would be interesting. Wu Hao grinned and said, Old Six, don't say it, it's really possible. With Brother Yuan's strength, by then, it will be easy to be worth hundreds of millions. Haha, it's really interesting. Will there be a palace fight like the one shown on TV in the future? Hee, that's hard to say. Soon, Lucia, Li Lanrong and a group of 7 people came to the teaching and research building. From a distance, they saw a group of young people who looked like college students, holding brooms, rags, and wash basins, going in and out to clean the environment. It should be there, it seems to be cleaning. When they got closer and came to the door of the teaching and research office, they saw Li Yuan and a woman in a black suit talking enthusiastically. Lucia and the others came to Li Yuan with some curiosity. Team leader Lin, tell them clearly that the equipment must be in place today, and after debugging and testing tomorrow, the base will be officially put into use the day after tomorrow. As Li Yuan was talking, he saw Li Yuan, Li Lanrong, and the other 7 people staring at him. Li Yuan smiled and said, Hello, 6th brother, several beauties, why are you all here? Lucia asked, Brother Yuan, are we not late? Gao Xian and the others also looked at Li Yuan and Lin Yue beside Li Yuan curiously, wondering what the relationship between the two was. Although Lin Yue's appearance was far inferior to Xia's Haijin and the others, she was wearing high heels and a women's suit, and had a strong aura, like an urban white-collar worker. It's not too late, Come, let me introduce you. Li Yuan looked at Lin Yue and introduced her with a smile. This is Director Lin of our company. His website is developed by Director Lin. Listening to Li Yuan's introduction, Lucia and the others hurriedly greeted Lin Yue. Hello, Director Lin. Lin Yue's eyes flashed, and she was a little excited and touched by Li Yuan's words that he suddenly promoted her from team leader to director. As long as you are not a fool, you can know that according to the current performance of the Zhi website, you can know that dating technology will definitely have a bright future. Although the promotion from team leader to director was just a seemingly joking remark made by Li Yuan in an informal occasion, it also made Lin Yue see something called prospects. And she herself came to dating technology, a new company, for only 1.5 months. In other companies, she has not even passed the probation period. Lin Yue suppressed her excitement and showed a professional smile. Hello. Li Yuan introduced, Director Lin, these 3 boys are all my roommates. They also come to this entrepreneurial base to do some part-time jobs. I will hand them over to you in the future. They are all freshmen. You should teach them more in the future. Hearing that they are the boss's roommates, Lin Yue's heart moved, and the smile on her face became even wider. Boss Li, don't worry, I will teach them carefully. Li Yuan nodded, looked at Lucia and the other 2, and pointed to the other interns who were cleaning the entrepreneurial base. Lao Lu, Hao Ziyi, Xiaoqiang, these are also seniors from our school, but most of them are sophomores and juniors, some are from the computer department, and some are from other majors such as journalism. You 3 will work part-time here with them in the future. Lucia nodded and laughed, okay, Brother Yuan, we will listen to you. Wu Hao and Su Ziqiang also smiled and nodded, looking forward to the part-time life of college students in the future. Li Yuan pointed to the teaching and research office with a smile and joked, brothers, don't just stand there, get to work. All kinds of office equipment are on the way. Once the environment is cleaned, they can be installed directly. Lucia and the others were stunned and nodded quickly, okay, Brother Yuan. Li Lanrong looked at Lucia, Wu Hao and the other 2 who also joined the army of cleaning the environment with mops. And suddenly asked curiously. Li Yuan, you recruit so many part-time college students, how much salary do you pay them per month? Chapter 213 Welcome the wife to inspect the work, naming the milk tea brand. The question asked by Li Lanrong also made Ji Chen Chen, Gao Xian, and Shen Zia very curious. They took a quick look at the room. There were more than a dozen seniors who were busy cleaning the environment. How much salary would they have to pay every month? Li Lanrong saw that Li Yuan looked a little hesitant, and asked cautiously, Li Yuan, is it inconvenient to answer? No. Li Yuan smiled and explained, because the entrepreneurship base is in the school, the salary for part-time workers is not very high, about 1,000 plus per month. At the end of the year, they will be given corresponding bonuses based on their performance. What, more than 1,000 per month? Li Lanrong's eyes widened, and she covered her mouth in surprise, with an unbelievable look on her face. The monthly living expenses of these girls are about 500 minus 1,000 yuan. The part-time salary of more than 1,000 yuan per month is enough to cover their monthly living expenses, and there is even a certain surplus. Li Lanrong and Gao Xian looked at each other and were somewhat moved. Except for Ji Chen Chen, a native of Shanghai, the others in their dormitory are all students from other places, and their families are all ordinary families. 1,000 yuan per month is already a large number. Especially after seeing Lucia and the other 2 also join Li Yuan's company for part-time work, Li Lanrong was eager to try. Li Lanrong made a tentative joke, hee, Boss Li, is the company still short of people? Do you think I can do it? Li Yuan was a little surprised. He didn't expect Li Lanrong to say that suddenly. He smiled faintly and said, you also want to work part-time. Li Lanrong pursed his lips and smiled secretly. Why, can't I? We are all poor people. The living expenses given by our families are not enough. We want to make some extra money from you, boss Li. Li Yuan confirmed again, are you serious? You are not kidding me. Li Lanrong nodded, yes, of course I am serious. Who dares to tease you, boss Li? Li Yuan smiled, if you really want to work part-time in my small company, that's fine. Anyway, the work is very simple. For you top students, you can learn it right away. If you just work part-time, you may not have spare time in the future. You will have much less time to go shopping, travel, and go home. You will not be so free and you will not be able to enjoy the happy time in college. Are you sure you have thought it through? Although Li Lanrong and Lucia are his classmates, Li Yuan is not Shan Ke Tongzi. He invited them to dinner last night because he wanted to and for Xia's hygiene's sake. But it's just an occasional treat. They are not his girlfriends. The part-time salary he offered is already very high, and the work location is in the school. This time, 12 people are recruited, and the number of applicants exceeds 100, so the competition is very fierce. After listening to what Li Yuan said, Li Lanrong suddenly hesitated. If part-time work wastes a lot of his spare time, what fun is there in college life? Well, I'll think about it again. Okay, Li Yuan smiled. There were enough part-time employees. If she was added, he would only get an extra 1,000 yuan a month. For him now, it was nothing. The 20 million invested in Biguanti stock has more than doubled in the past 10 days and is still rising. He estimated that if it rises to that high point, it will have to wait until the end of December, and there will be at least 5 or 6 times the profit. In the past 2 days, high school brothers Su Ji and Wang Shui have been closely following the rise in Biguanti's stock price every day. Both of them have invested tens of thousands of yuan in it. If there is a little movement, they are much more nervous than Li Yuan. They have to send several messages every day to report the stock price to him and ask when to withdraw. In the words of the two people, they are scared to earn this money, just like robbing money. After a while, Li Lanrong, Gao Xian, and 4 other girls also went back. A truck carrying various office equipment entered the campus and stopped at the door of the teaching and research building. The 2 large classrooms have also been cleaned up and started to be installed. More than a dozen part-time college students, watching the equipment being transported down, all exclaimed and talked. Wow, these are all brand new desks and computers, all of which belong to Dale, and they look very well configured. Hey, why is there a coffee machine? Can I drink coffee here? In this box, it seems to be a high refrigerator. Wow, Mr. Li is worthy of being a celebrity in our school. This part-time treatment is too good. I used to work part-time, handing out flyers on the street. It was very hot, but I only made 30 yuan a day, and only 400 to 500 yuan a month. Brother Yuan is awesome. The equipment shipped today must be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The company we work for is the now very popular Zhihu. I heard that today's registration volume is more than yesterday's. In the future, it may become a new internet giant, just like Bat. Although Mr. Li is young, he is really bold and visionary. Coffee machine, air conditioner, refrigerator. He is indeed a romantic talent, a multi-millionaire. He, Mr. Li is generous to his girlfriend, and he is also good to us. Amidst the laughter and exclamation, various equipment began to be disassembled and installed. These office equipments cost millions in total, and all configurations were configured according to high standards, which made these part-time college students who just arrived today very excited. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 357. The summer in Shanghai is very hot, and there is no air conditioning in the dormitories and classrooms. The entrepreneurship base is in the school. They can enjoy the air conditioning, drink coffee, use high configuration computers, and earn thousands of yuan a month. This part-time job scene is what they dream of. Li Yuan looked at the time. It was already 11:30 in the afternoon, and his family was waiting for him to go home and eat dumplings. Director Lin, I'll leave this to you. I have something else to do. Okay, Mr. Li, you're busy. Lin Yue was directing the workers to install and test. When she heard that Li Yuan was leaving, she quickly answered. Li Yuan said hello to Lucia and others and prepared to go home for dinner. He was about to drive away. Suddenly, a slender and beautiful figure appeared in his field of vision, coming towards him. Senior. Zhong Tingyu's voice was still so pleasant and moving, making people intoxicated. Li Yuan looked at Zhong Tingyu's outfit today, his eyes lit up, and he was a little surprised, and his heart was pounding. Because, today Zhong Tingyu wore white silk. Li Yuan was a little dry-mouthed, his eyes were fixed on Zhong Tingyu's long legs, and his saliva was almost flowing out. This goddess who looked very cold on the outside was simply the perfect female specimen carefully carved by Nuwa. Little Moon, why are you here? Seeing Li Yuan staring at her, Zhong Tingyu was not disgusted, but was very happy in her heart. It was worth it for her to go back to the dormitory to change into a battle robe. She rolled her eyes at Li Yuan charmingly, and snorted with a smile, hee, can't I come? Of course, madam, welcome to inspect the work. Li Yuan smiled and bit the word madam very hard. Zhong Tingyu walked in front of Li Yuan with her slender thighs, bringing a faint fragrance, which was refreshing. She stretched out her slender hand, held Li Yuan's chin, and cast a seductive wink. Then, husband, do you want to introduce the company to me? Being teased by Zhong Tingyu's ambiguous action, Li Yuan raised his eyebrows, and with a backhand, he hugged Zhong Tingyu's slender waist. Holding her in his arms, his lips close to her nose, smelling her panting, he joked with a smile. Madam, what's so good about the company? I suddenly feel that we should do some serious work. In public, such an intimate distance made Zhong Tingyu's heart tremble. Her cheeks, as white as jade, suddenly blushed. Her big watery eyes looked at Li Yuan affectionately, bit her lips, opened her pearly teeth slightly, and her breath was like a fragrant orchid. Husband, what serious work do you want to do? Explore the structure of human life and study life genetics. Puff. Zhong Tingyu laughed out loud at Li Yuan's serious tone. With her slender jade hand, she gently touched Li Yuan's forehead, glared at Li Yuan with her beautiful eyes, and snorted coquettishly. My husband, you can actually describe lust so fresh and refined, aren't you ashamed? Li Yuan chuckled, with a little devil like you, it's hard for me not to be lustful. As he said, he lowered his head and directly covered Zhong Tingyu's sexy and charming cherry mouth with his big mouth. After a long time, suddenly there was a pain in his waist, and Li Yuan raised his head again, looking at the goddess in his arms with seductive eyes and blushing face, and licked her lips with his tongue. Tisk tisk, so sweet. Senior, you are so bad. Zhong Tingyu glared at Li Yuan, who looked like a pervert, with shy eyes, and broke free from Li Yuan's arms. Hey, you didn't just know it today. Xiao Yu, come with me. Li Yuan restrained his mind and held Zhong Tingyu's hand, and pulled her to the front of the teaching and research office, looking at the busy workers in and out, and introduced it. Xiao Yu, look, this is the entrepreneurship base approved by the school for me. There are 2 classrooms with a total area of about 300 square meters. The water and electricity network have been installed. I am temporarily planning to use this as the operation and maintenance base of the Zhi website. Now various office equipment is being installed. It will probably be put into use on Monday. Zhong Tingyu looked at the hot scene of the entrepreneurship base seriously, and glanced at Li Yuan with her peripheral vision. In her heart, the man in front of her who made her dream was even more elusive. This man, since the first meeting, has been constantly giving her all kinds of surprises, and has deeply attracted her, making her unable to help but sink into it. Senior, you are really amazing. Li Yuan smiled, hugged Zhong Tingyu in his arms, and kissed her forehead. He, that's a must, who made me your husband, I must be amazing in all aspects. Pa, Zhong Tingyu spat, understanding the hidden meaning of Li Yuan's words. Li Yuan touched Zhong Tingyu's shawl hair and smiled, by the way, madam, there is one more thing to report to you. Zhong Tingyu rolled her eyes at Li Yuan shyly, husband, please go. Li Yuan smiled and said, the location of the milk tea shop has been settled. I have initially selected 10 stores and the price has been negotiated. We just need to sign the contract and complete the transfer. After signing the contract, we can start the decoration first, then recruit personnel, build warehouses, find sources of goods, and a series of subsequent things. Madam, have you thought about the name of our milk tea chain brand? Zhong Tingyu heard Li Yuan take the initiative to propose the milk tea shop, her beautiful eyes blinked, and she was deeply moved. This is Li Yuan's promise to himself, to open a milk tea shop with him and make it a nationally famous catering brand. He did not forget. Zhong Tingyu looked at Li Yuan's cheek and said gently, husband, I have thought of a few names, do you want to listen to them? Li Yuan nodded and smiled, okay, Xiao Yu, the names you come up with must be very nice. He, I hope you will not be disappointed after listening to them. Zhong Tingyu pursed her lips and chuckled, and said the names of the milk tea brands she had thought of before. Senior, I thought of 3 names before, Cha Yan Use, Meeting You, and Sister Shanghai. What do you think of these names? After speaking, Zhong Tingyu waited for Li Yuan's answer nervously and expectantly, feeling a little uneasy in her heart. When Li Yuan heard these 3 names, he couldn't help but smile. The 3 names given by Zhong Tingyu are really unique, and they are almost only one word different from the familiar names in his memory. As expected, she is a top student of business administration, and even has a good eye for naming. Li Yuan pinched Zhong Tingyu's cheek and praised sincerely. Little Moon, you have a good brain. You think of much better names than I did. These 3 names are all very good. Zhong Tingyu smiled sweetly, blinking her clear and bright eyes. So, senior, which name do you like better? Li Yuan thought for a while and replied, I think Cha Yan Use and Sister Shanghai are equally good, and both can be used as the name of our milk tea shop. Humph, you can only choose one. Then let's call it Cha Yan Use. I think this name suits you very well. The milk tea we are going to make is the best milk tea in the world, and my little moon is also the most beautiful in the world. Little Moon. Stinky Senior, you are just good at talking and making me happy. Zhong Tingyu snorted, her eyes full of happiness, her big eyes curved into crescents, and she chuckled. Senior, the 4 characters in Cha Yan Use that I named are the T of tea, the Yan of appearance, the U of pleasant, and the Se of color. Li Yuan hurriedly shook his head, no, I think the U of pleasant should be the U of the moon, that's right. Cha Yan Use, yes, let's decide on this name. This milk tea shop is opened for you and named after you. Zhong Tingyu was deeply moved by Li Yuan's words, her beautiful eyes stared at Li Yuan tightly, and she murmured affectionately, Senior. Suddenly, she tiptoed to put on her black lady's leather shoes, and her flawless white arms took the initiative to wrap around Li Yuan's neck, and took the initiative to put her seductive red lips on him. Coincidentally, at this time, Lucia, Wu Hao, and Su Ziqiang also came out to move things and saw this scene. Damn, isn't that brother Yuan, didn't he leave, why are you kissing a beautiful woman in public again? Tisk, all those busy work stories are lies, dating beautiful women is the real thing, brother Yuan is really a role model for our generation, his life is too cool. Look at the figure of this girl, she looks a bit like Zhong Tingyu, It turns out that she went back to the dormitory to change clothes in order to see brother Yun. Tisk, white silk long legs, so nice. Old 6, you are awesome, even the eldest sister-in-law dares to tease you. Are you really not afraid that brother Yun will know and hum you hard from behind? Don't look at it, hurry up and work, try to get brother Yun to pay us more wages, and find more girlfriends in college. Hee hee, I don't want more, I will be satisfied if I can have a girlfriend with the appearance of the eldest sister-in-law. You might as well buy a lottery ticket, the possibility of winning the 5 million jackpot is greater than your possibility. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 358. The two of them embraced each other for a long time, and Li Yun's claws could not help but rest on Zhong Tingyu's long white silk legs, constantly wandering. Zhong Tingyu moaned, her eyes were a little blurry, staring at Li Yun, and spoke breathlessly. Senior, don't be here, there are people. Li Yun smiled and bit Zhong Tingyu's bright red earlobe, his mind was already occupied by his mind. Then let's go to the car. Zhong Tingyu's pretty face turned red, and she punched Li Yun's chest angrily with her fist. Shameless, it's already noon. Li Yun pulled Zhong Tingyu towards the BMW X6, laughing as he walked. It's okay, you can have lunch first and then do business. Zhong Tingyu suddenly asked meaningfully, Senior, aren't you going to accompany Wixi today? How come you have time to accompany me for lunch? Li Yun heard the jealousy in Zhong Tingyu's words and slapped her butt hard. Little Moon, when did you learn to be jealous? Zhong Tingyu's face suddenly turned red with shame, and she secretly glanced around. Fortunately, it was the weekend and it was noon, so there were not many people on the road. Zhong Tingyu pouted and said coquettishly, Senior, every girl will be jealous. Li Yun smiled, Zhong Tingyu was right in the sentence, not only girls, but also boys. Zhong Tingyu's personality is like this. She looks like a cold goddess on the outside, but she is kind-hearted at heart. Once she has decided on you, no matter what you say, she can't pull you back. She is also a person who dares to love and hate. Li Yun opened the co-pilot, bowed slightly, and made a gesture of invitation. Princess, please get in the car. Seeing Li Yun like this, Zhong Tingyu chuckled and bit her lip. Senior, you should say, beautiful princess, please get in the car. Li Yun was stunned and couldn't help but look at this perfect goddess seriously. Could it be that she was also reborn from the future? Senior, Senior. Zhong Tingyu's little hand swung in front of Li Yun, waking him up from his fantasy. Li Yun laughed dumbly, bowed again, and said, the most beautiful moon princess in the world, please get in the car. Yes. The BMW X6 slowly moved on the campus road. Looking at the direction that was getting more and more off, Zhong Tingyu asked in surprise, Senior, this is not the way to the cafeteria, where are you taking me? Li Yun placed his right hand on Zhong Tingyu's long white silk legs, grinned, and looked at Zhong Tingyu meaningfully. Little Moon, what do you think? Zhong Tingyu understood Li Yun's eyes and rolled her eyes at Li Yun fiercely. Stinky Senior. You are so lewd. As she said that, Zhong Tingyu stammered again. That, Senior, today, I have my period, I'm afraid it won't work. Li Yun was stunned and asked, you have your period? Yes, Zhong Tingyu replied in a low voice, secretly watching Li Yun's reaction, fearing that he would be angry. Seeing Zhong Tingyu's cautious look, Li Yun couldn't help but smile, touched her head, and asked with concern. Does it hurt? Seeing that Li Yun did not show a disappointed look, but cared about himself first, the worry in Zhong Tingyu's eyes suddenly disappeared, and she was full of happy smiles. Well, it hurts a little, it's a little early this time. Li Yun parked the car on the side of the road, moved his right hand, put it on Zhong Tingyu's lower abdomen, and rubbed it gently. Zhong Tingyu looked a little confused because of Li Yun's actions. Senior, what are you doing? Li Yuan gently rubbed his lower abdomen and answered seriously, I have seen before that when a girl's period comes, rubbing her lower abdomen clockwise can slightly relieve the pain. Puff. Zhong Tingyu laughed so hard that she fell backwards and swayed, making Li Yuan's eyes stare straight. Senior, I thought you would let me drink more hot water. Li Yuan smiled, and it seemed that he said this in his previous life. Actually, drinking more brown sugar water may be more effective. I'll go to the school supermarket and buy you some brown sugar later. Zhong Tingyu stared at Li Yuan, enjoying Li Yuan's massage, and snorted, Senior, do you know a lot? Come on, tell me, have you said this to other girls? Li Yuan coughed lightly and promised solemnly, no, you are the first one. Zhong Tingyu leaned her head closer and opened her pearly teeth, really, you didn't say it to Wei 11 either. Li Yuan felt a little strange. Today, Zhong Tingyu seemed to be more jealous than before. Ahem, I always told her to drink more hot water. Zhong Tingyu chuckled, rolled her eyes at Li Yuan, and snorted, you are such a straight man, no wonder Wuxi High School didn't agree to you. Senior, I'm a little curious, why do you make up stories about being eloquent and glib when you get to college? Li Yuan laughed, didn't I tell you before? I had a real dream, and then, when I woke up, I knew it. Listening to Li Yuan talking about the dream, Zhong Tingyu had more doubts in her heart, but she didn't delve into it. Since she chose to accept this result, she would face it calmly and accept it. Senior, are we going to have lunch together at noon? Li Yuan asked in surprise, eat, why not, let's go to the cafeteria now. Zhong Tingyu smiled happily. Soon, the car drove to the cafeteria door, and Li Yuan took his right hand away from Zhong Tingyu's lower abdomen. Li Yuan got out of the car first, came to the passenger seat, bowed with a smile, and stretched out a hand. The most beautiful princess in the world, please get out of the car. Zhong Tingyu put her hand in Li Yuan's hand, and her beautiful face was filled with youthful and lively breath. After having lunch with Zhong Tingyu, Li Yuan sent Zhong Tingyu to the downstairs of the girls' dormitory. Looking at Zhong Tingyu, who was holding his hand tightly and looked reluctant to leave, Li Yuan sighed in his heart. If he only had a girlfriend like Zhong Tingyu, he should be alone with her for a whole day. Unlike now, even the time they were alone together was cut into pieces. Zhong Tingyu reluctantly let go of Li Yuan's hand. Senior, go and do your work. I'll just take a rest in the dormitory. Okay, I'll watch you go upstairs. Senior, I'll go upstairs then. Bye. See you tomorrow. Okay, see you tomorrow. When Zhong Tingyu disappeared from his sight, Li Yuan regained his spirits, got back in the car, and drove home. Chapter 214 Three Companion Li Yuan, Xia's Haijin's Shortcomings. Back to the home of Jingxia Villa. As soon as Li Yuan entered the door, he heard Queen Mother Xia frowning and complaining to himself. Xia Yuan, why are you so late? It's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Haijin has heated up the dishes twice. Didn't you say you'd come back for lunch at noon? Li Yuan smiled awkwardly. Before he met Zhong Tingyu, he had called home and said he would be there soon. And then he met Zhong Tingyu. He couldn't just leave without saying hello, right? After eating some vegetarian food with Zhong Tingyu in the car and finishing lunch in the cafeteria, it was almost 1 o'clock. Li Yuan glanced at the treasure girl dressed as a little cook in an apron, smiled apologetically, and explained. The company was busy today, and many equipment were moved to the school's operation and maintenance base, so it took some time. Xia's Haijin knew that this sentence was said by Li Yuan to her, and quickly replied. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui kan Ru Hua. Chapter 359. It's okay. I have nothing to do at home. Come and eat quickly. I'll serve you dumplings. Li Yuan walked up to Xia's Haijin with a smile, touched her head, put it to her ear, and lowered his voice, "Thank you, my dear, I like to eat dumplings the most." Xia's Haijin's face suddenly turned crimson. Li Zixia took the dishes out of the kitchen and put them on the dining room table, muttering, "Brother, we are all waiting for you. I'm almost hungry. Come and eat quickly." Looking at a table full of dishes, there are twice cooked pork, boiled pork slices, and fish head with chopped pepper. There is also the scrambled eggs with peppers and tomatoes that Li Yuan taught Xia's Haijin to make. Li Yuan asked in surprise, "Haijin, these are Sichuan dishes. Did you cook them?" Xia's Haijin gave a shy hum. Just when Li Yuan was about to praise him, he heard Empress Dowager Xia's laughter and praise. "I said I would cook for lunch, but Haijin insisted that she cook, saying she wanted me to taste Sichuan cuisine. I have to say that Haijin's craftsmanship is much better than that of your mother and me. Please try it quickly. It tastes really good." Li Yuan smiled. What Queen Mother Xia didn't know was that he had already eaten Xia's Haijin's cooking. After all, the two of them have been living together for more than a month. When Li Yuan was with Zhong Tingyu at noon, he deliberately didn't eat too much and kept his stomach to go home for dinner. While Li Zixia was eating the vegetables, she praised Xia's Haijin. "Sisters Haijin, the dishes you cook are really delicious, boiled pork slices, twice cooked pork, fish head with chopped pepper, he, you have to teach me in the future, I can only make some home-cooked dishes." Queen Mother Xia took a few bites, and the spicy and sour taste filled her heart and spleen. Her slightly wrinkled eyes kept shining brightly. Looking at Xia's Haijin's expression, she became more and more satisfied and kept nodding secretly. This poor girl from Sichuan and Chongqing really fits all her fantasies about a daughter-in-law. She looks like a flower and jade, like a fairy from heaven descending to earth. She is also incredibly good-tempered and soft-spoken, making her feel ashamed of herself. He also knows how to cook well and is very hard-working and capable. It's just that the family conditions are a bit poor and it's too far away from home. As someone who has experienced this, Queen Mother Xia considered many factors and subconsciously made comparisons in her mind. Of course, Xia's Haijin's family situation is not a problem. With the current earning power of the bastard son, he can fully bear the pressure brought by Xia's Haijin's small family. For a perfect girl, God will always deliberately take away some things from her, such as family love. "Xia Yuan, please eat more of the dishes Haijin works so hard to cook for you." "Haijin, you can eat it too, don't be restrained at home." Li Yuan ate the leek-filled dumplings made by Xia's Haijin himself and the spicy and delicious twice-cooked pork, feeling very happy. At this moment, there was a feeling of home, warmth, and comfort, which he had never experienced in his previous life. Being with Xia's Haijin always makes an old man like him, who has experienced many twists and turns, feel quiet and peaceful, as if he has found a spiritual harbor. Although there were not so many earth-shattering events, not so many pledges of eternal love, and not so many sweet words, he did enjoy this feeling very much. Unfortunately, good times always fleeting. After lunch, and after a while, Xia's Haijin asked to go back to school. Even though Empress Dowager Xia tried every means to persuade her to stay, Xia's Haijin still persisted. Li Yuan knew the reason. It was because several people had agreed to it yesterday afternoon. Last night, Xia's Haijin came first, and tonight, it's time for Baiwixi to arrive. This treasure girl is truly frighteningly pure and kind, with no intention of fighting in her heart. Queen Mother Xia held Xia's Haijin's little hand tightly, her eyes full of reluctance. "Haijin, come and visit Auntie often when you have time." Xia's Haijin nodded seriously and waved to Queen Mother Xia, "Well, okay, Auntie." Seeing Li Yuan and Xia's Haijin leaving together, Xia Qin felt mixed emotions in her heart and suddenly muttered. Ting Yuan's Haijin are both good girls. The palms and backs of these hands are full of flesh. Oh, this bastard Li Yuan, although I don't know why he suddenly became so carefree after going to college, but he has really good vision. The two girlfriends he found here are both so outstanding and beautiful. And Bai Wuxi is coming in the evening. According to what Zixia said, she must be a beautiful girl from her hometown in the county. She is the high school classmate that the little bastard has been chasing for 3 years. It would be great if I could have 3 daughters-in-law. Each of them would have a fat boy, and the legacy of Lao Li's family would be passed down. It's too far-fetched. Let's wait until we see Bai Wuxi and talk about it later. Queen Mother Xia returned to the elevator with a heavy heart, but her heart was not at peace. Spending most of the day with Xia's Haijin today gave her a deeper understanding of this poor girl. She was really worried about whether this poor girl would do something stupid if her bastard son's situation was really exposed. To judge herself and others, she couldn't even imagine that scene. Li Yuan drove the car and talked to Xia's Haijin about the entrepreneurial base. Haijin, the operation base in the school will be put into use on Monday. It will be installed in the afternoon. When you are usually bored, you can often go and take a look. Xia's Haijin nodded and asked, then will I still go to the company in Longjia building in the future? Of course I'm going. You are the boss of our company. If you don't go, how will your salary be paid? Li Yuan smiled and joked. I have recruited some college students from my school to work part-time at the entrepreneurial base. You also need to pay their wages. At the end of each month, Lin Yue will hand over the attendance information to you. You can just pay them according to the daily salary. Xia's Haijin nodded seriously when she heard that Li Yuan had added another burden to her. I will try my best. Li Yuan smiled, don't put any psychological burden on me. I'm still focusing on studying at the moment. I just want to get familiar with the company in advance and pass the time as if I'm free. The company doesn't have much profit now, and the finances are relatively simple. You can only get in and out. Once we get on the right track, I will look for professional financial personnel to give you a little assistance. Oh, I will listen to you. Xia's Haijin glanced at Li Yuan and replied obediently. Li Yuan saw this and mentioned it again with a smile. By the way, Lucia, Wu Hao, and Su Ziqiang from our dormitory are also working part-time in our company. When the time comes, the wages of the 3 of them will be raised appropriately. They are all classmates and roommates, so I can help if I can. Xia's Haijin looked a little surprised. She didn't expect that several of Li Yuan's roommates would also work part-time in the company. Then what standard are the wages of the 3 of them based on? Li Yuan smiled. For other part-time college students, I have initially set a salary of 1,000 yuan per month. If they do well at the end of the year, I will give them some performance bonuses. As for Lucia and the other 3, let's pay 1,500 a month. Let's see how they perform first. The company is still relatively small and has no profit. It will gradually get back on track in the future. By then, the financial department, human resources departments, marketing departments, our /U0026D departments, etc. must be established one by one. Oh, I know, Xia's Haijin replied with a smile. Whenever she listened to Li Yuan talk to her about the company's future development plans, even though she had never heard of many things, she was still very happy. This means that Li Yuan has her in his heart and has her in his future plans. Li Yuan habitually placed his right hand on Xia's Haijin's thigh and thought of another question. Haijin, how were you getting along with my mother this morning? Did she make things difficult for you? Xia's Haijin's face turned red and she shook her head quickly. Auntie is very nice to me and very kind. She asked me many things and talked with me about daily life. She also said that when she is free in the future, she will go to the mountain city to see my grandma and her husband. Where's Anning? Listening to Xia's Haijin's story, Li Yuan breathed a sigh of relief and felt that it was natural. With Xia's Haijin's character, he really couldn't imagine that his mother could have any objections to her. Even he himself doesn't know where to start if he wants to find any shortcomings in Xia's Haijin. If we really want to talk about shortcomings, there may only be one, a somewhat unspeakable shortcoming. Her voice was a little weak while the two were playing poker. Li Yuan doesn't know if this is a shortcoming. Soon, the car drove into the school. Li Yuan first took Xia's Haijin to the operation base of the teaching and research building for a brief look, and then sent her back to the dormitory. Downstairs in the girls' dormitory, Li Yuan sat in the car, took out his mobile phone, looked at the message sent by Baiwuxi, and muttered to himself. Why was he like an escort who was constantly on the go? After spending time with Zhong Tingyu, then with Xia's Haijin, he immediately had to go with Baiwuxi. Oh, life is hard. This is the trouble of happiness when you have too many girlfriends, Li Yuan muttered in his heart. If other boys in school knew what he was thinking, they would probably be furious to death. Li Yuan picked up the phone and dialed Baiwuxi's number. As soon as the call was dialed, it only rang for a few seconds before Baiwuxi answered the call. Brother, you finally called me. I thought you had forgotten me. Baiwuxi's tone was hopeful but mixed with some dissatisfaction. She had sent a message to Li Yuan in the morning, but Li Yuan did not go to her on the excuse that he was busy at the company. It's almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. How could that happen? Li Yuan smiled and asked, Xiaobai, where are you now? I'll pick you up. Baiwuxi said with a smile, I'm in the house here in Jade Mansion now. Yuchen came to play with me last night, so I didn't go back to the school dormitory to live. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 360. Are you here to find me now, or are you waiting for me to return to school? Hearing that Wang Yuchen was with Baiwuxi, Li Yuan showed a playful smile on his face. He didn't know how this senior green tea hottie would react after knowing that he was dating several people. Anyway, she would definitely not say anything good about him. In the past few days, when he and Suji occasionally chatted, he heard Suji constantly complaining that Wang Yuchen had become indifferent to him recently. The relationship that had almost broken the last layer of CN membrane had now become confusing. Because Suji invested all his money in the stock market, he had little money except for maintaining basic living expenses, which led to Wang Yuchen's resentment towards him. As a result, the relationship began to become somewhat distant. Li Yuan once joked with Suji, saying goodbye, the next one would be more obedient, and when he had money, all kinds of beauties would rush to stick to him. Unfortunately, Suji was somewhat similar to himself in his previous life, and he was still unwilling to give up this budding relationship. Li Yuan stopped the emotions in his mind and said to Baiwuxi, okay, I'll go find you. Okay, brother, I'll wait for you at home. Fei Kui Mansion Community. Wang Yuchen lay on the rocking chair on the balcony, enjoying the warm autumn sun, staring at the park outside the window, and was extremely envious. This is life. Unfortunately, this kind of life does not belong to me, but to my best friend. A house worth more than 2 million, a BMW sports car, a Mercedes-Benz sedan, LV bags, brand name clothes. Li Yuan, this scumbag, is really willing to give up Wei 11. I thought Wei 11 would choose to break up with Li Yuan, but in the end she accepted him and the situation. That's right, Wei 11 is now willing to give up everything that is within her reach, and it has benefited other vixens for nothing. The 3 years of youth in high school are also wasted in vain. Li Yuan has now created a Zhihu, which is quite popular at present. Maybe he will become a business tycoon and a billionaire in the future. Wang Yuchen glanced at Bai Wei 11 who was talking to Li Yuan in the living room, and couldn't help but think of her boyfriend Suji in her mind. In high school, She thought Suji was pretty good. He treated her very well, often accompanied her, and showed her meticulous care. They were admitted to the same university, and they were an enviable couple in the eyes of their high school classmates. At that time, she had already planned to have a real sweet love with Suji in college. But after arriving at college, she met more outstanding friends, and Li Yuan, a high school classmate, suddenly seemed like a bright pearl shining around her. Compared with the ordinary Suji, there was a big gap in her heart. Her best friend lived in a mansion, drove a luxury car, and wore famous brands, while she had a living expense of more than 600 yuan a month, and she couldn't even afford to buy snacks and milk tea. She was unwilling. Wang Yuchen thought of Li Yuan's strong figure and handsome face, and couldn't help but think of the accident that night in her mind. Her eyes kept flickering, and I don't know what she was thinking. After a while, Bai Wuxi came to the balcony with a faint smile. Wang Yuchen asked curiously, "Xiao Bai, did Li Yuan call you?" Bai Wuxi nodded and explained shyly, "Li Yuan's mother has returned to Shanghai. He will take me home to meet my aunt tonight." Wang Yuchen's eyes widened and he exclaimed, "You guys are really fast. You have already started to meet each other's parents. When you graduate from college, you must get married and have a baby." Bai Wuxi smiled shyly. Li Yuan had met his parents half a month ago. His parents were very satisfied with Li Yuan. They often asked about their relationship these days. She didn't dare to tell the truth. As for the rumors spread on the internet, they have not been seen these days. Her parents don't surf the internet much, so she doesn't know the real situation yet. "Yuchen, help me think about it. This is my first time to meet my aunt. Do I need to buy a gift? What gift is better?" Wang Yuchen thought for a while and said, "Li Yuan is about the same age as us. His mother is about 40 years old. Middle-aged women generally like bags, cosmetics, jewelry, etc. Xiao Bai, what gift are you going to buy for Li Yuan's mother?" Bai Wuxi shook his head, "I don't know either. I don't know his mother at all, but..." The figures of Li Yuan's parents emerged in Bai Wuxi's mind. Although they had no close contact, they looked very simple rural people. They should be easy to get along with, right? Wang Yuchen saw Bai Wuxi's tangled look and joked. "Xiao Bai, in my opinion, you should buy some good imported fruits, such as cherries, durian, etc., and buy some gold jewelry, jade pendants, jade bracelets, etc. I guarantee that your future mother-in-law will like it. Besides, when a girlfriend comes to visit, it is usually the elders who give gifts to the younger generation. You just need to go alone. Even if you don't buy any gifts, Xiao Bai, based on your appearance, figure, and education, Li Yuan's mother will be so happy to see you. So, Xiao Bai, you don't have to worry at all." After listening to Wang Yuchen's words, Bai Wuxi was still a little nervous. It was her first time meeting Li Yuan's parents, and she wanted to leave a good impression on them. Just like when Li Yuan met his parents, he prepared Mutai, Zonghua, Rolex, and LV, and coaxed his parents around, and he just missed getting the two married on the spot. Bai Wuxi paused and asked, "Yuchen, how about buying a pair of jade bracelets? My mother also has a pair of jade bracelets. I think they look good when worn." Wang Yuchen smiled and nodded, "That's okay. The jade bracelet is indeed very beautiful, but it's not cheap. The better ones cost thousands or tens of thousands. Do you have that much money?" When Bai Wuxi heard this, she pursed her lips and chuckled, "Li Yuan gave me a bank card. I haven't used it much. We just bought a few sets of clothes last time we went shopping." Wang Yuchen thought of the way Bai Wuxi swiped his card last time he went shopping, and felt extremely envious. She really didn't know how much money was in the card Li Yuan gave to Bai Wuxi. "The last time I went shopping to buy clothes, it was just..." "Xiao Bai, you don't have to save money for Li Yuan, just spend what you should. Think about it, If you don't spend it, he will spend it for other women. Bai Wuxi looked stunned and glanced at Wang Yuchen hesitantly. Although what Yuchen said seemed to make sense, she always felt that it was not good. She couldn't tell what was wrong specifically. Yuchen, how are you and Suji doing lately? Wang Yuchen curled his lips nonchalantly. Don't mention him, he's made me so angry recently. Bai Wuxi asked curiously, what's wrong with you two? I heard you complaining about him a few days ago. Wang Yuchen frowned and muttered. I don't know the reason, I just don't feel the same as before. Every day, I'm pestered to chat and ask questions like good morning, good night, have you slept, and what are you doing? It's annoying to death. I would go out to sing with my roommate, and he would always be on the phone, so I felt like I didn't have any free time. That's all. He's been wearing a lot of clothes recently. When we went shopping together, I spotted a few clothes that I liked, but he was reluctant to buy them for me. Xiao Bai, do you know? We went shopping in the mall for 2 hours, and he bought me a cup of milk tea and a bag of chestnuts. We went there on a bus that was full of sweaty odor, and even took a taxi. Not willing to fight. If he could be half, no, 1/10 as generous as Li Yuan, I would be so happy. Listening to Wang Yuchen's various complaints about Suji, for some reason, Bai Wuxi suddenly felt an inexplicable feeling of envy in her heart. Li Yuan was very generous to himself in terms of material things, but because he was not his only one, he could not enjoy the kind of meticulous care that Wang Yuchen said. No, I have already enjoyed it during my 3 years in high school. Bai Wuxi continued to listen to Wang Yuchen's complaints, and suddenly an idea flashed in her mind, and she thought of the dream Li Yuan told her about her previous life. In the dream Li Yuan mentioned, Li Yuan was just an ordinary college student like Suji. He was not that talented. He made millions a month just by writing a novel. He could not write songs or sing. He is nice to listen to, but he has a stupid mouth, he doesn't know how to speak sweet words, he is single-minded to himself, and his mind is full of himself. But if I met Li Yuan like this in college, would I still love him regardless of everything? Will you give him all your first times? Just like how Wang Yuchen felt about Suji, would he also be disappointed in that ordinary Li Yuan? Bai Wuxi suddenly became very confused. She subconsciously wanted to deny that she was not the woman in the dream that Li Yuan said. But when she saw her good friends around her constantly complaining, she felt confused and hesitant for the second time. The first time was when Li Yuan sang the song White Moonlight and Cinnabar Mole to himself. Am I really a bad woman who loves vanity? Bai Wuxi murmured to himself, his eyes full of confusion. No, that's not the case. I've liked him since high school. If I didn't like him, why would I ignore the comments of my classmates and sit at the same table with him for 2 years? Why did you reject all other boys' confessions for him, and even gave him the love letters you received? Why would I be willing to let him hold my hand, let him kiss me, and make an agreement with him? I obviously like him. But why did I become like that in that world? Is it because, like Yuchen, I started to like it but gradually became disappointed? If that's the case, it will delay his youth for 7 years. No wonder he hates me so much. Bai Wuxi felt a slight pain in her heart as she thought about it. She looked at Wang Yuchen as if she saw her own shadow. Chapter 215 Best Friends Turn Against Each Other. Bai Wuxi wants to take a shortcut, 1,000 monthly votes last month, 6,000 additional words. As Wang Yuchen was talking, he suddenly heard a sound like raindrops splashing on the ground. Then he let out a soft sigh, noticed Bai Wuxi's strangeness, and suddenly cried at some point. Wang Yuchen panicked, stood up quickly, and asked with concern. Xiaobai, why are you crying? Bai Wuxi wiped her tears and looked at her good friend in front of her, feeling a little confused.